All right. I have an idea on how to start streams from now on. I think I could start reading previous comments from the previous stream. What do you guys think? Is it that ushkushi? I think it's very beautiful. It's like, oh my god, so much compassion. Like you're going to read the stuff we say without giving super chat. Yes, probably the only streamer on the planet that does this. I will read the comments from the previous stream. Especially because the previous stream, in my opinion, had a very interesting subject, that of homeless people and compassion, and I did receive a couple of interesting comments that didn't show compassion. So I want to give my take on them. I want to see if I'm going to do the smartest thing a streamer can do, which is to argue with his audience. I heard that's the key to success here on YouTube. So let's examine. Ta-da! Here we go. Whoop. Why can't I? Oh, okay. California has pro-homeless legislation that actually encourages drug-addled homeless from all over the country to migrate here. Plus, the year-round mild weather means that someone from a temperature climate would go there to avoid inclement weather. Okay, so I don't think California is the only place with nice weather on Earth. But you do have a point where you say that there are legislations which encourage more homeless people to travel there. As such, yeah, that is the fault of the politicians. Now, I want to point out that this isn't exactly true. You know, like this is a talking point that I don't know how grounded it is in reality. Like, you would have to do a homeless person census and find out how many people actually traveled from abroad in order to go to California. Because, for example, here in Europe, right, under the European Union, it's also easy to travel. I mean, relatively easy. With an ID card, you can go pretty much anywhere. So, by that logic, Spain should have the biggest homeless population in the world, at least in Europe. Why? Because, well, people from Eastern Europe would travel to Spain. The problem is, traveling is, even though it's as easy as it has ever been in human history, it's still relatively inaccessible for a person that doesn't have money. On the topic of looking down on the homeless, a long time I heard someone say something along the lines of normal people not wanting to show their faces out of embarrassment if they are homeless. The sort of people that we see in the streets of LA or Seattle aren't good people that are down on their luck. They need a lot more than just change themselves back on their feet. It's a choice. Yeah, so I already explained that there are people who have managed to recover. I don't think that like this applies to everyone. It's most likely that, yeah, people who end up in the situation of being homeless, you may not fix the problem just by throwing money at them and giving them a home. As ironic as that is, they would relapse. But there are other people who, if given the opportunity, they would definitely try to make the best of it. I try and open my heart up, but metro area homeless make me feel super unsafe and act threatening or mentally unstable. Really also make the case for concealed carry, says Chloe. Well, I have a subscriber called Chloe who has concealed carry. Chat, listen, you think Tinder is a good place? No, like, my chat is where you can find your significant other. All I'm saying is that amongst you, there is a lady by the name of Chloe Crawford, and she concealed carries. When it shows that the left is hypocritical, I don't necessarily fault residential developers and planners for prioritizing the safety of the resident first. My point is that the solution to help the homeless isn't to just give them money. Although, sure, you know, you can make a kind deed by giving the money. The solution is the politicians, right? Like, only they can prevent more homeless people from, prevent more people from becoming homeless, and then they can also figure out what to do with the ones that have already became homeless and how many can be, put in a situation where they can be given help. And yes, Chloe, she is packing. That's definitely true. Is Chloe in the chat right now? Chloe. There are people who want to meet you. I'm already taken, but there might be people from the United States which would be interested in setting up a conversation. In Helsinki, they typically have white benches on the park. However, on the park next to the parliament, there are just narrow chair-like benches. It is obviously white. Well, yeah, I mean, the politicians usually do not like the riffraff. This is the one that made me want to make this part where I read the whole comments. You have compassion because you don't live with our homeless. No, I have compassion because everyone can become homeless at one point in their life. Right? So the idea is that if we all have compassion, then when we are in that situation, hopefully other people will have compassion for us. The other point that I'm trying to make is that having compassion doesn't mean you have to turn a blind eye. Like, I don't agree with how California now fixes the problem. No, I think that if someone commits a crime, they should be punished, even if they happen to be homeless or not. Like, that's not what compassion means. Compassion means trying to at least focus on the problem, right? Like, if you are inconvenienced, like, for example, this lady, right? Like, she is scared that there are homeless people on the street and she feels threatened. Like, if the policies from your city would prevent more people from becoming homeless, like, surely you would agree that it's a good thing, even if you don't have compassion, right? Like, you're just worried about safety. You're worried about the behavior that, people with mental illness without a home can bring up. Like, okay, I get it, but, like, you don't need to have compassion to agree that it is a problem, where if people wouldn't become homeless, or if people who are homeless would be helped so that they're not homeless, like, that would fix the issue that you're also concerned with. I spent a few years under bridges. A couple of beers made me sleep easier. I was working construction. I started contracting. Yeah, but, like, there is a difference between being a homeless person and workers who want to save money and they just sleep at the construction site. Believe it or not, that's actually something that happens quite often. Like, a lot of workers who want to save money, they just sleep at the construction site, or they buy a home where they sleep with 10 other people. I wouldn't consider that to be homeless, though. I'm that's just what a person does in order to save money. So, for example, if you have a worker which travels abroad or travels to a different city and they have to do work there, they don't want to pay money for accommodations, right? They don't want to pay a motel, so they just sleep at the construction site. That's not something that I would consider the person to be homeless. Now, this is the interesting one, and this is why I start to dislike the chat. No matter what I say, no matter how fucking esoteric it is, no matter how random the topic, there is going to be a person in the fucking chat which is knowledgeable about the issue. Like, it's like a freaking encyclopedia. So I show the picture with what I believe to be the Sahara Desert, and I said, oh, this is a real desert. And then I show the picture of an American desert. And you have this guy going like, no, see? That picture was of an American desert. It's the Mojave Desert, which is the desert covering California. Now, shut the fuck up. Stop ruining my jokes. Good God. I don't care. It was a joke. Here in Seattle, our food banks rival super high-end grocery stores like Whole Foods. Funny point. All the fake meat that regularly consumers don't buy ends up on these food banks before it's being thrown away. This is why I'm saying that the idea that a fat person is rich doesn't apply in 2022. Like, if you look at the people at Martha's Vineyard, overwhelmingly they were fit, right? So let me show you another picture with Martha's Vineyard. And you can also look at most politicians. Like, most politicians, they're not of a body weight that's representative of the average American, right? So if you look at Martha's Vineyard, what's interesting is that the residents are slim, and it's the refugees, which I'm not going to say obese, but they're definitely of a more diverse body type, right? So what this shows is that back in the day, we would assume that a person that's fat is rich, right? Because they have money to buy food. That was the concept. But now it's the reverse. Now, people who have money, they have money to buy healthy food. So they're going to buy food that's proper, that's premium, and it's not going to make you overweight. Meanwhile, people who are poor, they buy the food that's usually from the end of the processing system, right? Like you buy some sausages, hamburgers, you buy something that's processed, food that contains a lot of substances that may not be healthy. So that is the reason why you see this reversal, which again, like it used to be a thing, like you would see a person that's fat complaining that, oh well, they're poor. It's like, oh well, if you're poor, why do you have money to buy so much food? And the answer is like you don't need to buy so much food. In fact, you can get overweight with just one meal a day. That's how I got overweight. Like I literally didn't have time to cook food. I was at med school for most of my time. It was like 8, 9, 10 hours a day. I would come home and I would study. I didn't have time to cook. So I would have one meal a day, maybe some snacks at med school, and then like my body weight just ended up growing out of proportions. Now, we are going to try talking about the vegans. Try the carnivore diet. I don't want to lose weight. I'm happy with the current weight that I have. There was a time when I did try going up the stairs, and I was breathing heavily, and I realized that if I keep this up, I might end up in a hospital. So I did hold a diet, which worked. And now I'm at the ideal weight. I don't consider myself to be thin, but I'm not overweight to the point where I breathe heavily as I go up the stairs. Anyway, right, so regarding the vegan thing, I want to ask something from the chat, all right? Because this is a topic that I don't have statistics for, but personally, I don't know of a single vegan from my life which managed to maintain the diet for more than 2 years. And I want to know if you guys actually know one. So this is not a trick question. This is not something of a gotcha. So do you know anyone in this situation? And I'm talking about, do you know any vegan who held the proper diet for more than 2 years? If you don't know any vegan, please don't vote, obviously. So please let me know whether or not you know a vegan that managed to veganize for more than 2 years. And it has to be a vegan that doesn't eat milk. He doesn't eat fish. Right? So not a vegetarian. But someone that's actually, just following the lifestyle. I know one who has been doing it that is healthy. Okay, well, vote if you know one. I'm genuinely curious. All right. I think that the vote is definitely not close. So already you have 65% of people that don't know anyone. Right. That's my assessment as well. I'm pretty sure there are some people that manage to. But my point is, what am I going with this? It's not for everyone, right? Like it's a dietary habit that's not for everyone. There are ancient texts that talk about the Greeks sacrificing animals to the gods, right? Like even before Jesus was born, thousands of years before that, people were hunting animals. Like the whole concept that, oh no, this is like society that ingrains you. No, people from all around the world, even people from the New World, even people that were in the new land that was undiscovered, everyone ate meat, right? Like this is not something. And you look at chimps, you look at you go down the evolutionary tree where people came from, and you'll see that they eat meat. Like this is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think human beings are designed to be able to survive on vegetables alone. Of course, some people can. 30%, apparently, according to my poll. I'm not going to say that's a actual statistic, but from my experience, very few people manage to do it. Now, what I also notice is that it's also ideologically connected. So, the reason that I'm saying it's ideologically connected is that most vegans also happen to be left-leaning people, right? Now, left-leaning people will say but it's because of compassion, right? Because left-leaning people are compassionate. I think it's more to do with the fact that left-leaning people are moralizing. Like, they like to moralize on others. They like to talk about how they, like how better human beings they are compared to other people. So being a vegan allows you to do that. Being a person at Martha's Vineyard, going refugees are welcome here, allows you to also say, well, look how kind and compassionate you are. But the moment you have like 40 refugees in your backyard, that's when you escort them out. Now, I don't know how vegans would feel if they were actually farmers, because there is a lot of process that involves killing various animals when you have a harvest. So, for example, every little bird, every rodent, every snake, every little bunny, and everything that is on that field is going to die because the farmer requires the crops to be intact. So I don't know, like, vegans would genuinely enjoy being on a farm and seeing the little bunnies being under the tractor. I have no idea how they would react to that. But what I also find interesting is all of these vegan activism, right? Like, and the vegan activism are bewildering at best, shocking at worst, right? And I genuinely don't understand, how is it supposed to convince people? Like, this is what I don't get. How is it supposed to convince anyone? Like, usually when you have an activist program, there are two types of them. There are the types where you're trying to persuade people of your point, and then there's the point where you try to highlight yourself in your base camp, right? So you want to show that, look, I'm like the veganizing better than other vegans, like I'm doing this activism. It's kind of like, being an environmentalist and chaining yourself to a fence or something like that, right? Like, you're not trying to persuade people. You are trying to show other environmentalists what you did so that they can clap at you and say what a righteous person you are. So in this particular one, you have like vegans going to supermarkets and placing stakes. This is the bewildering type. And as you can see here from people commenting, none of them is impressed by this, right? Like, no one is like, oh, wow, you're absolutely right. Why? Secondly, like, roses are very fucking expensive. I don't know about in your country, but here they're actually getting quite expensive. So this is a significant investment. It's not just field rodents being mowed down by combine harvesters. It's also poisoning the rest of the year so they don't steal all your dang cabbage. No, I know. I'm aware. Then you have like this one where they spill milk. Vegans lately are taking a stand against ice cream, right? But it's like no one is going to be convinced by this. Like, no one is going to look at this and they're going to be like, oh wow, they're doing such a service to the cause. Oh wow, they're going to persuade so many people. Know a guy been vegan for 9 years, but his health is not good. Well, my point is that some people can manage to pull it off. Like, I'm not saying it's completely impossible, but if you go on vegan forums, you will see that every now and then you have a person who says, oh, look, my diet just doesn't work out. Like, I'm not able to do it. Like, I don't feel good. And immediately they're attacked by every other member of the forum, saying that they're veganizing wrong, that they're not trying hard enough. Right. The only other similarity that I see, and Susan Wojcicki, forgive me for speaking about this, but if you go on forums where you have trans people, Like every now and then you're going to see a person that wants to detransition. Like they will say, look, I have regrets. I don't think this is for me. I want to go back. And they receive a lot of vitriol from other people on the forum saying, oh no, you like you don't do the correct lifestyle. You don't understand. Like you're not blah blah blah. I guess like another one might also be with Christians. Like when you have but this is just my personal experience. Like I don't know if it happens today or not. But if you happen to be in an evangelical community, right? Because I went to an evangelical high school. And there were eventually certain individuals who said, okay, well, I don't, like my faith is shaken. I don't know whether or not I'm a real Christian, blah, blah, blah. And if immediately, like other people will attack him, saying, "Oh, well, you weren't a real Christian. You didn't have the proper faith. You never believed, blah blah blah." So it's kind of like that, you know. It's like the ideology is a lot stronger than anything else, in my opinion, right? Like it's not just like this is a lifestyle that people want to have because it's like, oh, well, it's healthy for me, so I want to have this lifestyle. No, it's more like there's ideological pressure. There's a community involved. If you want to be part of that community, you have to behave in a certain way. The field says that after thousands of years of selective breeding for milk production, not milking dairy cows causes health problems. Well, I guess like how many chickens are on Earth? Because I think like there's trillions of them, if I'm not mistaken, right? So if we were to stop eating chicken, like all the trillions of chickens would die, but like the argument is that, well, they would die anyway. So that's, you know, like they would say, yeah, sure, like the current cows would not appreciate it because they're not being milked, but it would save the other generation of cows. That's what they would use as an argument. True veganism hasn't been tried before. Well, it's the whole thing of you can't just eat vegetables, right? Like that you need to do research on it, and you need to get documentation and find out what supplements you need to take. It's a extensive process. It's not so easy, right? Which again goes to show that if humans were meant to just eat vegetables, like they wouldn't need to do all this research. I mean, most people don't need to read about how to eat food and how to, right? Like, if you take a person and you send them to Japan, let's say, you take a person from a medieval time period and you put them, I don't know, you send them to Japan. Like, they're not going to recognize most of the food there, right? Because they don't have, like, think about it this way. Just so you can understand how much humanity evolved. A French king wouldn't even know what, from the medieval time, wouldn't even know what a banana is. He wouldn't even know what a pizza is, right? Like, all these things would be missing from his table because there weren't the trade lines to supply with these foods over there, right? So, like, if you were to take someone from medieval Europe who has no idea, I don't know if rice even existed in medieval Europe, right? I mean, you put him in Japan and they have, like, some food that is similar, but a lot of things that are completely different, like algae and stuff. He doesn't need to do research to know how to eat and sustain himself, right? But like, if you want to have the vegan diet, you need to do research and sustain yourself. These days, people could do with a little reading on how to organize their diets. Probably because a lot of people, I mean, you eat food that's, I don't know if I should call it unnatural, but to a certain degree, it's artificial. Now, like, for example, back in the day, peasants wouldn't inject chickens with growth hormones and other things. So yeah, you wouldn't spray with pesticide an entire field. And obviously, it has advantages and disadvantages. Pizza comes from a form of Italian flat bread that originated with the Romans. Yeah, but I don't know if it actually managed to go to France, because it's not just like having the ingredients, but the way the ovens were made and the type that you would have to process the ingredients in a medieval society. I don't know if they have pizza in France, to be honest. I generally think they don't. It's kind of interesting because I looked into the history of cooking, and I found out that there were royal chefs. Like that's the only way we can know what people ate in medieval time. You had royal chefs which would write down their recipes, and they would never add the quantity. So most people who try to recreate medieval food, they try to wing it because, like the chef would say, you add milk, you add eggs, but he wouldn't say how much milk and how many eggs. For example, fun fact, is that in France and actually in England as well, the pie was considered to be the fast food of medieval time. So the same way we eat a burger right now, there were places that would cook pies, usually like shepherd pie, the fisherman's pie, things with meat, and they would sell them to the public, and it was the same like fast food, kind of similar, but not exactly. You know what I mean. I will eat my fellow man before I eat the bugs. That's actually an interesting question, which I ask people. It's like if you're in a plane crash and behind you there's crates of the Impossible Burger, and in front of you there's the pilot, which is dead, and you're hungry, what do you do? Anyway, the other thing which is interesting is that all of these Impossible Burgers, right? Like Burger King actually had a very bizarre campaign where they would ask people, which type of burger do you want? Do you want the normal one or do you want the meat one, right? So basically they want to consider the Impossible Burger as being the normal, right? First of all, and I'll tell you why it doesn't sell, right? Because like many people claim that even during the shortages, they would go to the supermarket and most of the shelves were empty, but the Impossible Whopper was still there. So the reason it doesn't sell is because, first of all, it tries to imitate meat, right? Like that's the bizarre part. Like they know meat is so good and it's so delicious, despite that ideologists say that you shouldn't eat meat and society like ingrains you to eat meat. In reality, they know meat is so good that they try to constantly replace it using plant products. Now, if I want to eat a salad, I will not eat an Impossible Whopper. Like, if I want to eat a salad, I would just fucking eat the salad. There's a lot of, like if I have to eat salads, there's a lot of other vegetables that taste a lot better than the Impossible Whopper. Which, by the way, is very expensive. Like, it's not very cheap either. Like, if you're going to have a vegetable that costs as much as a burger, I might as well just buy a cheaper vegetable. Yeah, the fat is all weird. It's very salty as well. It leaves a nasty aftertaste in your mouth. The burps are from Satan himself. I just, no. Like, I would just rather eat a salad with cucumber and tomatoes than to eat the Impossible Burger. Jonathan, see, this is why I hate my chat. Like, I'm talking about pizza, and all of a sudden, like, people come with the, like, actually, pizza was made by Italian Americans in 1492 in the United States. But I don't know about where tomatoes were originally produced, and it made because most of Europe in the era of the mill. That's actually interesting to know. I didn't know that Americans invented pizza. It does seem legit, though. Which, if it's true, right? If Italians in America invented pizza, then all the social justice activists moaning about cultural appropriation whenever an American makes pizza is even more hilarious. You can make a kick-ass bean burger? Press X to doubt. Actually, it was the Greeks. How the fuck would you even know? How would you even know who invented the pizza? There is no fucking way of telling. Look, if it's a technological invention, yeah, you kind of are able to pinpoint when it was invented, but if it's actually a cuisine, if it's food, it's next to fucking impossible to figure out who made it the first. Especially if it's pizza, like it's not. I mean, I guess you need a specific type of oven in order to make it, right? Like, you can't make it over an open fire. You can't make it in a bucket, right? So you need the proper tools to create the pizza, right? Like, it's in a medieval time to have like the tray, which is like round like the pizza. I guess you had to be a professional baker, because like the thing is, like in medieval time, most people would use as little tools as possible because they were poor. So like most tools were designed to have uses for different things. So for example, you would have a pan, right? Like, but you didn't have like a pan and a wok and like 5 other types of cutlery. No, like you just have like one thing if you are poor. Now, if you were a little bit higher up, if you are a noble, if you are a professional chef, yeah, you'd have had like different types of pottery. But to make the pizza, you need like the specific type of pottery for pizza. So, like, how would you even know who invented it? Pizza are a daily standard of flatbread. Yeah, it's probably the miller, I guess, because, like, most people didn't make... Well, actually, they did make their own bread, but it was, like, dark bread, right? And I don't think you can make pizza with dark bread. Like, that would be interesting. Can you make a pizza with dark bread? It would probably taste disgusting. The who invented pizza argument is almost as contentious as the who invented the pita argument. Oh, I see. Chicago-style pizza, 100% American. How do you know? Do you know, like, there's a lot of other things that, like, the French fries aren't actually made in France. I mean, the concept of frying a potato, right, is the same with French kisses. Like, just because it has the country name in it, sometimes it can be misleading, is what I'm trying to say. Oh shit, there's a nasty earthquake in Mexico. 7.6 magnitude. Wasn't there, like, another one equally as nasty in Taiwan recently? By the way, if you know anyone from Mexico, do contact them and ask them if they're safe, because there's been a really nasty earthquake. And trust me, it helps. It helps showing that you care. Like, if you were in a nasty earthquake, you would appreciate if people asked you how you doing. So, yeah. I actually knew an artist from Taiwan. And I paid him in advance. And then I read massive earthquake in Taiwan. And I was like... You okay there, buddy? You okay? Everything fine? It was fine. I was happy, Chad. I was ecstatic. Anyway, right. What is that really? By the way, like those applications, like the Jesus. So there's these apps marked safe from earthquake. You know, like who the fuck uses it? Like. I mean, I know a lot of people use it, but, like, who actually benefits from them? Like, if I have a relative which is in a dangerous area, or a friend, let's say they're, I don't know, they're in Mexico right now, right? And you see, like, this huge earthquake. Like, do you go on their Facebook to see if they're marked safe, or do you just pick up the phone and call them? Because I think, like, most normal people just pick up the phone and call someone. You know, you don't look at... By the way, look at these commercials. $140 to go to a hotel in London per night. $140. Who the fuck pays for this? $140. What do they do there? Am I being a cheapskate, chat? Is this not a lot? Like, if you want to stay for, I don't know, 5 days, you have to pay $700. Anyway, I might be a little bit of a cheapskate. Mark safe from She-Hulk. See, now that's something that I would want. They're pennies, huh? How much are hotels in the US? I would have to look at it. It's cheap. I guess you should also compare the fact that it's 4 stars, right? So if it's 4 stars, yeah, like you're paying for the luxury, I suppose. I think you're justifiably stupid. Now it's not 140. Now it's 138. No, 38.50. They put you with migrants for an international experience. Didn't they want to do that in California? Yeah, like didn't they want to pass a law to put migrants in hotel rooms like that? That's interesting, right? Why wouldn't they do that with Martha's Vineyard? Like they wanted to pass a law so in California, yeah, they can house homeless people in hotels. And I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely going to be an experience. Like imagine this, you know, like let's say you're looking at hotels and you're finding out that, oh, this hotel, which asks for $140 a night, you know, it also has homeless people housed in. I see. That's definitely going to drive tourism, isn't it? Anywhere for $60 to $1,000. There is no fucking way. There is no way. I don't think there are hotels that ask for $1,000 a night. I mean, sure, maybe the one. I mean, there may be a couple, right? Like if it's a really famous hotel, like what is the one called in Qatar, or the Arab Emirates, right, or Saudi Arabia, like in the Middle East, right? Like you have some of those really really famous and luxurious hotels, but like $1,000, yeah, that thing in Dubai, yeah, that thing in Dubai might actually cost $1,000 per night. But other than that, I don't think that there are people that are going to pay so fucking much. Like, see, I'll tell you something about hotels, chat. While we're talking about it, if you want to travel somewhere, and this goes even for people that are, let's put it, not like incredibly rich, like not obscenely wealthy, right? Because obscenely wealthy people, they have different standards and different way of life. But I'm talking like if you're rich, right? And you're traveling somewhere, and you're sitting there for like 3 or 4 days. Don't get an expensive hotel, because you're not going to stay at the hotel, right? Like you're going to stay at the hotel during the night, because during the day you want to travel. That's why you went there. That's why you're seeing, right? Now, if you go to a business meeting and you're going to meet people at your hotel, then yeah, sure, then you can spend the extra and you can get a more luxurious hotel and you can use the lobby to have your meeting so you can show off, oh, look how wealthy I am, look how successful I am. Surely you want to do business with me because I am rich, ha ha ha. But other than that, don't go for an expensive hotel. Go for something in between, right? Because you don't want to go somewhere cheap either so that you sleep poorly during the night and you wake up with back pains and, with the cockroaches on your face. So just, my point is, I don't think $150 is okay. I think like $100 per night is already within that area where it's acceptable. I mean, look at this one, right? Like, Travel Lodge, London City Hotel, $70. You know, like, well, why not get this one? Like, this one looks reasonable, right? It's not too poor. You know, it's a vacation. You're supposed to spend a little bit of money because, like, you're taking a vacation, so you want to feel good. $70, $110 also. Look, Holiday Inn looks nice, but the $140 is too much. That's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Expensive hotels equals flex. Yeah, that's the thing. But like, you're flexing for what? Like, whom are you flexing towards? Like, if you travel by yourself, like let's say you're young and you're traveling by yourself and you get an expensive hotel, who are you really flexing for? I mean, no one knows you're there besides you. And sure, you can take a couple of pictures, but you can't add the price tag. How much is hold on, how much is a night at Trump's Tower? Now I'm curious. Trump's Tower, one night. Trump's probably a lot more expensive after he became president, right? Holy shit. My fucking god, Trump's Tower looks amazing, dude. I've never actually looked at his hotel. So, Trump's Tower in New York City. Hold on, I need to book the stay. And then I'll find out how much it costs. $1,100 per night. But I'll tell you this. It would probably be a very memorable evening. Oh no, never mind. So, it depends on the room you want to book. Like if you want to book the executive suite, which is, I assume, like if you want to do a business meeting, right? And you want to close a contract, you want to close a deal, and you want to impress the people. Because like when you do business, at least that's the mentality here in Eastern Europe. I don't know how it's like in America, but like here it's, if you're a business person, you want to look, you want to display wealth to show people that you're successful so that they will do business with you, right? Because it's like, surely this guy isn't doing bad business if he manages to have so much money. Like, he's successful. So you take them into the Trump Tower at this place, right? Like, this looks gorgeous. Much of the southern Eastern Europeans 10 years behind brother Sylar. My last hotel room at the W in Seoul was 1,100. Holy shit. They give you a discount if you wear the MAGA cap. Oh, that would be funny. But how would you get in without getting your ass whooped on the street? That's the question. Because I have seen people with the MAGA hat being, so it's like there are some individuals out there that are like bulls. You know, the moment they see red, they get agitated. So speaking of different mentalities, there's one interesting fact which I found out. Apparently, here in the Western world, let's put it like that, because it's the same, it's not just an American thing, but it's an Eastern European thing. I'm pretty sure it's a Russian thing as well. People hate games which are pay to win. So, if you have a game that requires you to pay to get armor, to get weapons, like, people hate that, right? In China, it's literally the opposite around. Like, people love games where they pay to win. And the thing is, like, let's say you have a game that's not pay to win, but it has two branching options. You can get a sword by grinding for 3 months, or you can buy that sword for $1,000. Right? Like, imagine this. So imagine a video game like World of Warcraft. You can spend $1,000 to just get a sword, or you can grind for 3 months to get that sword. I don't know if it's in Korea. Like, that would be interesting to know if they have the same mentality in Korea. But how does the mentality work? Well, here in Europe, if anyone hears that you have spent $1,000 for a video game sword, people will laugh at you. Like, people will look at you like you're immature. They will ask, what are you thinking? Right? Like, everyone is laughing at this. And they will also be, like, you'll find people that will even be aggressive, because it's like, dude, because of you, the gaming industry is shit. Like, because of people like you. In China, it's the opposite way around. So, the way it works in China is if you buy the $1,000 sword, you are the Chad. Because it shows you have so much wealth that you don't care about. So, you can literally just spend money on a video game because you're the boss, you're the Chad, you have money. But if you actually farm the 3 months for the sword, then people laugh at you, because it's like, well, what are you doing with your time? You know, you're playing too many video games, you're spending too much time. That's not what an adult does, right? Like, video games are supposed to be for entertainment, not to sink your life into it. That's probably why in China they also passed a legislation to limit the time people are allowed to game, because for them it's actually a cultural thing, right? Like, they view gaming as an entertainment, as a hobby, but they don't want people to spend too much time playing. They don't want people to be addicted by video games. So it's really interesting. If they get aggressive, you defend yourself with the sword. Ah, I see what you did there. Wear a gun with the MAGA hat. What makes you think that there aren't other people with guns, though? But yeah, this is why you get so many video games which have monetary transactions, and they do very well in places like China. Like, for example, Diablo Immortal, if I'm not mistaken, it managed to get... how much was it? Like $15 million in 1 week or something like that? And people say, oh, well, yeah, but like Diablo 3 got blah, blah, yeah, but that's not the point, right? Like, first of all, creating Diablo 3 took years. It probably costed a lot. And meanwhile, Diablo Immortal for the mobile Took less than 1 year, I believe, to create, and it didn't cost a lot. So the return investment is quite high. And sure, there might be people saying, oh yeah, but like this other game, that one makes even more from microtransactions. It's like, that's not the fucking point. Like, you as a company, right? Like, for example, I as a YouTuber, you know, if I make $30 per stream, I'm happy. Now, of course, Pipkin Pippa, the fucking monster of Face Connect, manages to make probably $5,000 a month. That's fine, you know, like, but that doesn't influence me in any way. Like, as long as I make how much I want, I'm happy. And by the way, the reason I call her the monster of Face Connect, I want to show you something, chat. Like, I was so fucking right in supporting her. Because I saw the fucking talent, chat. I saw the talent. Look at this shit. Like, now, she managed to overcome not just me, but most of the YouTubers I know. So, 1.1 thousand subscribers in 1 day, chat. 1.1 thousand subscribers in 1 day. 136,000 video views. Holy fucking shit. I don't know what she's doing. I don't know, like, how, but I wish she would tell me. I want to copy what she does. Do I need to go pee 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 when I start my stream? How do I do it? I'm a little bit bewildered by... I mean, I knew that she's going to be successful. I knew that she's going to break 100,000 subscribers this year, but it's just... My God. Oh, Dios mío. Last week, she made 2.5 thousand. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's thanks to me. Like, I promoted her in my Wiki is Stupid. Like, back when I promoted her, she had less than 100 viewers on stream. She got 1,000 subscribers from my promotion. Then other people promoted her. It wasn't just me. And her content is really good. I mean, I can't say that, you know, she wouldn't be successful without being promoted by other people, because her content is very good, and she's got a company that's promoting her as well. The only thing that I told her, which she listened, is to make videos. Because I said, look, if you get more views, the algorithm is going to like that, and you make really great videos. So she started uploading videos, which are really great. I mean, the way she presents things, she gets very emotional, involved into it, and she's got like a really good presentation. And those views are what's getting her like 160,000 views per video, per day, sorry. So I'm a little bit tired. I haven't slept last night. Please excuse my stuttering. But it's those videos that give her the views. And those views are pumping her her channel with the YouTube's algorithm to the point where she's going to definitely surpass quite a few YouTubers that I know of. I mean, my prediction is she's going to have over 500,000 subscribers next year. So yeah, the videos boosted her. I would have suggested that she makes shorts, but I think she's already way too busy. And she's not... Like, she's probably gonna die if she has to make some shorts on top of that. She wouldn't be successful if she wasn't a woman. You know, I'm not gonna lie. It does have its charms. Like, being, you know... It also depends. Like, if she was a man with a radio voice, that would have also made her successful. There are a lot of men that can be successful, but, like, the voice matters a lot. If I had a different voice, if I was the voice changer, I would probably have a couple more subscribers. I know a lot of people who tell me, V, I love your content, but I can't stand your high pitch. Or, V, I love your content, but I can't stand your accent. Like, there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, so, like, there's maybe ifs and maybes. I don't think capitalism is fair. I think that she doesn't have necessarily an advantage over other people just because she's a woman. You know, like, probably a guy, like for example, Jim, with his radio voice and his charisma, gets more subscribers, and he's a man. So, also, she doesn't do lewd stuff, right? Like, if she were to channel the lewdness, she would probably have more subs. So, no, I don't think, like, the people watching her are simps. Because her content isn't trying to target that audience. Yeah, Vosh is an example. Vosh also is successful because he has a good voice. You have Hassan Paikar, who's successful because he works out, and a lot of the people in his chat, especially the ladies, they often say that they like Hassan Paikar because of his physique and Instagram photos. I'll leave it at that. So yeah. Jim got nerfed from Twitter. Well, what can you do? I mean, I'm just curious, like, how much more sanitized the internet is going to become. Like, I mean, I remember the channels that I used to watch in 2016, and all of them are either gone, and the ones that are still here are boring as fuck. Hence my channel. Like, my channel is not what it can be. Like, if YouTube TOS didn't exist, and it was like the same way it used to be in 2014, there would be a completely different array of topics that I would be covering, and there would be a completely different way that I would be speaking right now, but it is what it is. Like, for example, if it was 2014 internet, I would probably even have call-ins. Like, I would even have guests, like, from you guys. I wouldn't care. I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, come on. But now if I ask one of you to come on and you drop the Netflix logo, well, I can get a community guideline strike on the channel, so it's not my choice. I mean, it's getting so ridiculous to the point where other platforms like Twitch, they ban you for stuff the chat says. I mean, can you imagine? Like, I would have to monitor the chat and start banning people who break the Twitch community guidelines. So not only am I streaming, I don't even know how the fuck people do it. Like, obviously, so if you're like Asmongold, right? And the chat goes, right? Because like if you have like 2,000 people in the chat, Asmongold probably has more. Like, he's got thousands, tens of thousands probably. But if the chat goes like this, right? Like, chat goes like this. So you're not even able to read the chat. So you now have a moderator which has to like slowly look at the chat just to see if there's anything that's breaking TOS so that they can ban the person. I mean, it's so fucking ridiculous, right? Now, big streamers like Asmongold pays his moderators, I assume. Probably Ushikushi girls on Twitch, probably they don't pay their moderators. But usually, like, you have to pay your mod. But my question is, like, if you're an upstarting streamer, like, you just started, right? And let's say you have 100 viewers. You're playing a game. You're focused on the game, right? You're playing Dark Souls or whatever. You also have to read the chat in order to see if anyone violates TOS. And if you don't do it, you might get your channel shut down. Like, that is so fucking ridiculous. And you don't have the money to pay someone else. Because you just started, right? So, it's horrible. Toss a coin to your Johnny, yes. What is my favorite FromSoft game? Okay, so this is actually a difficult choice between Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, and Bloodborne. I think Bloodborne is kind of official. Like, everyone likes Bloodborne. But Sekiro, I don't know, like, it had its charm. I love the fact that the story was blatant. Like, you didn't have to fish a lot to wrestle the story away from the developers. And it was also the mechanic where you could die twice that I found it to be hilarious, because it showed you that you are so bad that the boss would kill you not once but twice and you still wouldn't manage to do it. So that's my favorite. Demon Souls is a close one. Like, I really like Demon Souls, the atmosphere, especially the remake. I don't think it's on the computer yet. And I have to say, and this is probably going to upset people, but I think Elden Ring is the worst FromSoft game ever made. To me, okay? This I know is subjective, and I know this is just my take on it. I don't like the fact that you can go out. I mean, you can do this in the other games as well, but in Elden Ring, more so. Like, you can just farm, and then you out-level the bosses to the point where they don't really represent that much of a challenge anymore. And I really didn't appreciate that mechanic, right? Like, I like the linear type games. I enjoy more like, okay, this is the path you need to take. And that is something that I definitely started despising about open world games. Because at the end of the day, like, the open world game it's still like you got the open world, which is fun for the first 10 minutes, but then you still go to a place where you pick up a mission and you have to do the mission. And lately, open world games have been the only thing that's coming out. Now, Assassin's Creed Mirage is supposed to bring back the franchise into what it used to be, to its roots, where you have like the single player experience, single player linear experience. So the advantage of the single player linear experience is that you can script events, you can create interesting things that cannot be translated into the open world environment. Would Elden Ring be a good starting point for someone who's never played a FromSoft game? Yes, because it's, in my opinion, Elden Ring is the easiest game out there. The horse mechanic is a little bit difficult, but after a while you get used to, and I think that the only other game that's a starting point would be Demon's Souls. No, you can grind in all of them, right? But in Elden Ring it's fun to grind. Because if you grind, like, for example, you grind in Demon's Souls, right? It's boring as fuck, it's tedious, most people just don't want to do it. In Elden Ring, it's like, oh, you're grinding, so now you're traveling to this area and you're fighting some monsters, and now you can go to another area and you can grind there. And then you can explore that cave and maybe you find some treasure. It encourages people to grind. So when you find the boss, I remember like in Elden Ring, like I was so high level that I would just find bosses and they were no challenge. Like I didn't even care about their mechanics. And I'm talking about the world bosses, right? Like after Martha you beats you with a stick, and then you grind and you level up. And then there's the other guy, which was a little bit hard, the one with the dragon arm. But after that, all the other bosses, at least up until the general, all of them were easy. I didn't know that FromSoft made the Armor Core. I did not play Mortal Shell. Hurricane Fiona went into Puerto Rico last night. No power on the whole island. Yeah, see, this is why I never promoted Bitcoin. Because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, well, Bitcoin is going to save us. Dude, if you don't have power, you can't make economic transactions. Like, gold and silver, since the beginning of mankind up until now, they always had value. Like, even if a hurricane hits, if you have gold and silver, you can still trade. People are very susceptible to peer pressure, and the most popular games are usually overrated due to hype. They are good, but not as good as advertised. Yeah. It's kind of like, you know, I appreciate Lofty from the Flashcast, right? Like, Lofty is wrong. He might have some mental issues that I'm sure a trained psychiatrist could help him out with. However, he does have cojones. Like, he goes in a place where there's 5 other people disagreeing with him, and he says that Lord of the Rings is great. You know, he goes there with 5 other YouTubers who are willing to take their turns at riding Lofty, and he's like, yeah, Rings of Power, best show, great, 10 out of 10 Kotaku. You know, and like, I wouldn't do that. Like, I would never do that. I wouldn't go in a place where there are 5 other people and argue with them. You can't win. Alright? Like, it doesn't matter if you're... Like, if you go in a place where 5 people tell you that 2 plus 2 equals 6, and they're very angry and passionate about it, and they're willing to, to mock and ridicule and belittle you, there is no way you can convince them. Like, even if you go there and you take, like, the 2 sticks and the 2 sticks and you show them it's 4, you're not going to convince them. It's completely pointless. But Lofty does it, you know? I love Elden Ring. Best open world game I've played. Still managed to feel like a Dark Souls game, and some areas bosses are hard. I think there's also the fact that I'm a little bit salty due to the fact that I wanted Bloodborne instead of Elden Ring, right? Like, if they would have made an open world Bloodborne game, I would have been much more sympathetic to it. Let's put it like that. Does he just have low standards or token leftist? I don't know. It's like, I have no idea. I don't know. You know, before woke movies, there were bad movies. I know this is shocking, but like the concept of like sequels, prequels, and reboots and reimaginings isn't what destroyed Hollywood. Like, Hollywood was capable of destroying itself in the beginning. So there were some movies that were just action flicks. Completely mindless action flicks. For example, Transformers. Right? Like, Transformers. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Like, Transformers had a really bad storyline. All right? Like, it wasn't... It wasn't something cerebral that you watch Transformers and then for several days later you're thinking, oh wow, that was such an amazing story. But it had this going for it. I'll give you that. It had a fox that was very talented for the role. But my point is, like, a lot of people, they would go watch Transformers because they like the explosions and they like the graphics and they like the CGI, and they didn't care about the story. And that's also a perfectly good reason to like a movie. Like, look, at the end of the day, it's a business transaction. Like, you're going there to get entertained. If you think that the person making the entertainment is capable of entertaining you for how much money you're paying them, you don't have to justify it to anyone. Like, if you think that Rings of Power or Female She-Hulk or whatever, if you think these are entertaining and you're getting your money or your time invested, right? Because that's another thing, like the investment of time. Like, if you're getting what you're putting in, sure, go watch it. Go see it. You know, don't be ashamed. Now, it also depends. Like, do you want to do activism? That's another question. You know, some people want to do activism. Like, some people go like, no, I grew up in the 90s. I like the movies in the 90s. I wish I can send a message to the capitalist pigs at Hollywood that the movies should be made as they used to. Then don't see them. You know, that's also a choice. I would commit literally any atrocity for Bloodborne 2. Oh, don't make me think of some atrocities, because my mind is quite inventive. Female She-Hulk? Is that a male She-Hulk? Well, stop being a bigot. I swear I would never watch another Michael Bay movie after Pearl Harbor and never kept the vow. There are movies with certain actors and actresses that I will not watch under any circumstance. And it's usually because of the politics of the actors, you know? And it's so interesting because, like, the left goes like, oh, but why are you so petty? Motherfucker, we live in cancel culture, right? Like, if you don't like something, then pressure it so that it doesn't exist. And if there's an actress that has, like, a really bad take that I disagree with, why would I give money to their production? Absolutely not. Like, if they don't... like, if the standard wouldn't be made to the point where people are canceling others over political opinions, then sure. But no, like, if an actress tells me, oh, this movie is not for you, it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to watch the movies. Face Off is actually really good. Yeah. Anyway, right. Thank you guys for watching the stream. I don't know if it was as entertaining as the one we saw yesterday, but I'll do my best to find something more spicy for tomorrow. And I'm gonna go now to make 2 more videos for my lack of entertainment channel. My work never ends. So thank you so much. Oh, by the way, yeah. Like, I see someone in the chat saying music is important. I noticed that video games nowadays don't have cool music. And I also noticed that movies don't have cool music either. I mean, the soundtrack from the prequel of Star Wars, that was quite fucking memorable. The soundtrack of Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, I think the name of the composer was Zimmer. Yeah, like, they used to have movies that weren't that good, but, like, the soundtrack was so captivating that it still got people to like the movie. Anyway, right.